Okay, we're going to continue forward with my D2 mod. And if I didn't mention last time, I am linking the information about the mod underneath these videos. So there's an overview page, which is more global data changes, and the non-global is more full stuff about like the different classes and things like that. So one thing I would probably do, I don't know if I can do this within the modding framework of how Diablo 2 is originally set up, but I would love to see something similar to a banking mechanic here. In Diablo 1, when you died, you dropped everything you were wearing. In Diablo 2, they later patched this so that people wouldn't player kill and steal your items. And so they created a body pickup, a recovery system, where all your gear was trapped inside of that. However, you still dropped gold. And the gold drop formula is something related to basically everything that you're currently equipping, plus a certain percentage out of your stash, which is really weird. I think it would have made more sense. This is a super tangential point, but I think it would have made perfect sense to make the stash actually a bank in that sense. So if you drop your gold in here, you literally cannot lose it. Otherwise, if you drop your gold out in the field from death, you would lose maybe a significant portion of it. Now, I know there's a bank like that in... Oh, what's that game? Hollow Knight. There's a bank there that kind of acts similar. Probably increase the damage on the exploding barrels, make them more like Diablo 1, make them dangerous. So last time we rescued Deckard Cain, we got a really bad ring. I enjoyed that. I thought it was funny. If I ever have the opportunity to change this guy up, the shaman, I don't know too much about how AI works in this game, other than some of it's percentage based. But if I could change up the shaman to more regularly shoot fireballs and less regularly revive their kin, I would probably do that very quickly as a grinding down a rough edge that drives me crazy. This is not the right path. We still do very little damage, which is actually a problem. And I think I'm actually struggling with hitting. I am. I'm still wearing something with negative... this one. Oh, but it has attack rating in it, so it really kind of counteracts itself. Not that interesting. It does reduce my damage by like 4% or something, but what's 4% of 5? 0.2 damage? No, 0.02 damage. I should stop trying to do math in my head. It's not helpful. So I was hoping to get a little bit farther in the last video than I did. I'll repeat that I'm not exactly a speedrunner and that this mod is intended to be a little bit different than the base game, so there's some stuff there that I can't really control. Well, I mean, I have controlled that I've changed to be a little bit slower and a little bit faster both. Okay, there's a lot of guys that I apparently walked by here. Oh, no, because I was up there. I did not walk by these guys. Okay, what's their chance to hit me? Ah, that's actually pretty high. Good. I like that. Let's go kill this beast thing down here. It might drop something good. These guys hurt. I like it. About 8 to 10 damage. Not insane or anything. Nothing too bad there. Skull cap. And a ring. Let's grab that. I want to try to strike like this perfect balance between some different systems that existed in the original game here. We're going to do that on Q and that on E and that on R. There we go. Where kind of like Diablo 1, I'm thinking about naming this game kind of Diablo 2 reduced. Or reduction, as in, like, food, cooking, syrup, sauce type stuff. Because it's a slow-built mod over time that I'm kind of pulling out my own definition of impurities from. Distilling it down to a simpler form, maybe, if you want to call it that. Anyways. Not sold on the name yet, but I want to give the mod a name eventually here. Let's go over here and kill this guy. But I want to strike this balance where... excuse me. Where enemies hit just the right amount of damage, and potions aren't too common. Right now, I would actually argue they're probably a little too common. Faster hit recovery and more defense. Let's do that. Amethyst, scimitar. So exploding arrow. My goal with that is to make it this absolutely massive explosion that you can choose to do, but I also want it to be kind of expensive, so in my opinion, I would probably swap Exploding Arrow and Immolation Arrow here. It's a debate I'm still having in my head. And I just don't know how I want to handle that. But Immolation Arrow, on the other hand, is very like Firewall. And I think that that would actually be kind of cool as an earlier ability. Firewall is a pretty early ability in general. But, I mean, at least in Diablo 1 it was. In Diablo 2, I think it's like level 12 or something. But how I have this set up is that Fire Arrow is a synergy to Exploding Arrow. And it's also a synergy to Immolation Arrow. But Immolation Arrow and... Come on. Yeah, it doesn't do enough damage probably at the level I'm unlocking it here. But they don't go back and forth. So Fire Arrow doesn't get anything from leveling these two up, but these two get something from Fire Arrow. And while it says Exploding Arrow gives this damage, it is actually disabled in the actual skill tree data. So I'd probably swap this and make Immolation Arrow be like 12 mana and this 20 mana and all that. So the idea would be that Immolation Arrow, at least in what I'm thinking about here, Immolation Arrow would no longer have an explosion to it. So it would just be Immolation. So you've got this kind of firewall arrow. And I might even make it so that it actually creates a firewall. So when you shoot it, it creates a line of fire. And then when it ends, it does like a little bit bigger fire where it actually hits a target, creating a pocket of fire right there. Okay, we're going to go back to actual fire arrow. I can't afford the other one. Just something like that. It's just an idea that I've kind of been milling about while reviewing this character class. I'm trying to not overdo some of my edits and just kind of focus on a character at a time or a global effect at a time. So I've messed with a handful of unique items, and I've messed with this character class a little bit in preparation for this run. And then I'll just be kind of going back and forth between different characters and different builds as I play, test, and share. Okay, what's my defense? Bone Archer will hit me 88%. That is quickly becoming bad. Very bad. Okay, I will wear a +1 mana ring. +1 mana per kill. As that will be a valid entry in the future. I don't want the axe. Go away. But this would make Exploding Arrow kind of the end-all be-all, where the Immolation Arrow would be a little bit harder to use, maybe. The Exploding Arrow will just do exactly what you expect. And then same thing kind of with like Frost Arrows. You'd have the Frost Arrows, and... Wow, I am really struggling for damage here. This is bad. Really struggling for damage. I've done playtest all the way through Act 1 here, and this is probably the worst run I have done so far. I've found bugs in almost every run, though, so my goal is not to necessarily focus on commentating when I'm doing those initial playtests. I want to make sure things are at least mostly finished before showing them off a little bit here. And I fired that in the wrong direction. That hurts. I'm not even hitting these guys, I don't think. 73% chance. So I did buff armor on enemies. Maybe that was a mistake. That was done for this run, so I got about this far on the previous playtest. We're going to go back to town and take a second here. Okay. Let's get some potions and go back. So I'm going to keep that ring. It might be useful in the future. I don't need that hat. Let's just remove that there. Okay. So yeah, taking off your belt. This is a weird thing I learned from another YouTuber. if you take off your belt, it of course then drops all 4 of these, or however many potions are not on the main line here, into your inventory, which allows you to buy a lot of potions very quickly. We probably need a better bow in some fashion. I just don't know what to grab here. So this looks like a pretty good bow. Hands down, that max damage is really good. I would... Oh, that's even better. Another +6. Those are some like maximum rolls there on that stat. Let's just sell that. We will lose attack rating, but we were also losing attack rating from the negative dexterity, so a lot of the attack rating on that. So we were losing 4 dexterity, which is 20 attack rating, so we were only getting 19 attack rating. Kind of a backwards thing there. Let's see, we've got a faster hit recovery, but we also can buy a 2-socket skull cap here. Got a vitality, armor, studded leather of magic reduction. So we're getting hit a lot. That is one of our problems, is we're getting hit a lot. And so having just a little bit more armor might be of decent value here. I could level up my strength here for these gloves. The difference between these gloves doesn't seem to be a lot. I'd probably make them a little bit bigger, maybe. Chain gloves, I think, can go up to 11 or 12. So it's like maximum of like 4 maybe, and then a maximum of probably like 6-ish. Yeah. Anyway. Gonna say this might be the best thing we can buy. It's on the expensive edge there, so we are losing a lot of money doing this. But we're kind of fixing our build here too. I could grab this skull cap. I don't know what kind of gems I have because I just put them all away. So we could add 6 strength to a helmet. We could add enhanced defense. Just a note on these gems. They are different than normal. So chip diamonds, they no longer give attack rating when put in armor. They no longer give undead damage. Instead, they give max damage, and each single slot also gains max durability. I figured that durability is such a basic utility stat, especially in this mod where everything has had its durability significantly reduced. Most of the armors haven't been adjusted yet, but definitely like the melee weapons have like really reduced for durability. I'd probably undo a lot of the melee weapon stuff because you actually hit with your melee weapon, whereas you're not getting hit as much with your armor. But 2 max damage is really strong. Obviously, you can get some pretty good rolls here. 6 max damage is maybe a little high for this point in the game, so I might need to check on that. But I do like chunky stuff, so like 4 max damage, 5 max damage, maybe a 2 max damage ring or something. I think those are pretty fun. They do scale with stats, and they probably shouldn't, but it's what it is. But instead of getting attack rating, if you put this in armor, you get enhanced defense. 20% isn't a lot at this point in the game, but if you have a 2-socket, that's 40% defense. We do currently have a 40% defense armor, and we have this faster hit recovery helmet, so we could get some regenerate mana, regenerate life. So regenerate mana would give us it. I don't know. I've tested it at higher values, but it's not amazing. The replenish life is actually pretty good. It's been significantly increased. I think default is like 3 or even 2. So anything that gives replenish life is a lot stronger. How replenish life works in this game is that it's approximately 0.1 per value because it's 1 value per frame. There's 25 frames, so 1 value per frame is 25 health, except for it's not 25 on the left side of the decimal. Everything in Diablo 2 is more or less decimal-less. It's integer math. And so they'll multiply something by 128 or 256 or something like that, and then do some accuracy math and then pull it back down. So in the context of life and mana and probably stamina, what's actually happening is they use a byte of 255, 0 to 255, for your health stat. Instead of a decimal point, they use the smallest byte, so to say, of I think it's a 3 byte or 4 byte value. And so I don't have 86 health. I have something like 86 times 256 health, something like that. Or 255 health, something like that. So this replenish life is actually 25 of that per second. And then divide that by 256 or 255, and I'm not sure which it is, and you divide that by 255 or so, and that's approximately 0.1 health per second. So a chipped skull, having been buffed in this mod, is approximately 0.5. It's like 0.49 per second, something like that. So I figured that if you want healing of some form of regen, especially because I want you to kind of eventually wean off of these potions a little bit, being able to have 0.5 health regeneration is something of value. Now, there are some issues with health regeneration in this game. The health regeneration function does not get drilled into if you are taking direct damage from something else. So if something hits you, your regen for that single frame that you're hit is actually canceled, and that goes both ways with enemies as well. It also goes both ways with poison. So if something is poisoned and it's taking 100 damage a second, but it's getting hit 5 times a second, you're actually losing 20%, 5 over 25 of your damage being dealt from the poison. So anything that can hit something with direct damage is canceling the regen formula being triggered. And regen and poison are kind of in the same section. Now, long term, if I can find that piece of code and rewrite that in assembly, that'd be awesome. That is not an easy task to do, and it's not something I want to take too much time searching for. But if I were to take the time, that's what I would do. Is I would remove that little segment so that both regen and poison are not turned off at all when taking direct damage. So anyways, moving on, I don't think that there is a strong reason to sacrifice this faster hit recovery helmet for a 2-socket helmet for any other reason. The regen is not going to be that significant, the mana regeneration. And another thing, if I could go in and change the mana regeneration formula, I probably would do that as well. I would probably make it so that this stat here was not a percentage, but instead was something closer to, whoops, that's not what I'm trying to do. Was something closer to, man, that's really bad damage. Exploding arrow. 2 to 6 extra damage. That's 8 extra damage. 4 to 8 extra damage, so. Probably just need points into it mostly. But yeah, I would make the mana regeneration formula to be more of a flat bonus instead of a percentage bonus. I think the percentage bonus it's neat. I just don't care for it that much. I don't have a problem with it existing as a separate mechanic, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably just choose the flat bonus instead. The lightning is going to kill me, though. I get hit by that too many times.
Not enough mana. Not enough mana.
Okay. We killed him. So right there, I will be changing that at some point to make it so that when an enemy dies like that, you will be getting an item, a potion, something like that, not 4 potions and an item. I want the potions to be a little bit more rare. You know, I mean, hey, why is the enemy holding all those potions anyways? Shouldn't he be drinking them? I need a lot more attack rating. I may have overdone the defense formula stuff for enemies. Maybe just tad. I don't know. I've got some pretty good attack rating here, and I am really struggling to hit now. And that's because I buffed their armor. My goal with changing attack rating is to make it less prominent instead of more prominent. In the base game, it really holds back a lot of the physical damage dealing classes. And I don't want it to be removed as a mechanic, but I also don't want it to be just all over the place in the context of how it currently is in the late game for a lot of classes. Every class will need it now in this mod, but that's true of a lot of games in the genre. Path of Exile has accuracy, which is not used by every class, because there's ways around it, so to say. But Grim Dawn has it for every class, and Grim Dawn ties it to critical, which is both really fun and also has some detrimental side effects, where having more of it is always better. Where here you hit a certain point and it's no longer valuable. What is their attack rating? I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I need 2 potions just to fill back up here, which is good. I like that. That is actually intended. That is not a body. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh. There we go. Get got. That's the wrong button. That's the right button. A light belt. Speaking of replenish life, here we go. So that's actually, I really appreciate that item right there. Poison resist will also come in handy against Andariel. It won't be amazing, but it'll be helpful. I don't know if we'll make it to Andariel in this run. Or in this video. Just because my character is struggling, so I'm not sure if we'll go fast enough, so to say. We are approaching... Oh my gosh. I do need mana, but... You can see how I'm gaining a little bit of health here. Might be a little slower than 1 every 2 seconds. I will say that as soon as I started buying equipment from the vendors, I got poor immediately, so...
Tortures took place here.
Changing the ratio of potion drops probably would solve a lot of the gold problems without changing gold itself, as it stands for my goals and how it's currently holding up.
Not enough mana.
Come on. There we go. Okay, Bone Archer. Chance that they'll hit me is 83%. So, yeah, I probably overdid it for buffing enemies in attack rating and defense. Amulet. Another thing I might do for a future run is buffing all belts to just be all 4 slots or whatever. The difference between wearing a belt and not wearing a belt is 4 entire slots. I'm taking that, putting it on. So there's another max amulet. So it's 4 maximum damage, but we're actually getting 6 out of it because of our dexterity and the ratio on the bow. Now, I've got some different opinions on that, but anyway. -1 of spirit, you can go away. But yeah, I probably overdid it on enemies. Let's see here. Can you hit me at all? No, you cannot. So, not sure how to fix this. Because I tried. I think their attack just doesn't use attack rating at all. So it's not calculating in the attack rating I gave them. But it's supposed to because I told it to, so... Usually systems work the way you tell them to do, and they're programmed that way. So I'm not sure how that works out, but it is what it is. I will point out the synergy here of 14% fire damage from fire arrow. In the future, I would probably make it both the exploding damage and the fire damage kind of both get damage from fire arrow. It's more of your mastery of this side of the tree instead of just simply fire related synergy. So we get 2 damage out of this if we level it up. I do eventually want it to be leveled up, so I'm going to just take it. Currently too expensive to use though, so I actually doubled the health on gargoyle taps, and looks like that was probably worth it. Let's see, I also increased they share the fireball with the shaman, so. Gargoyle trap will hit you 95% of the time. So it uses the attack rating, but the mages don't. There we go. Doubling their health seems to have not even made them that dangerous.
I need mana.
But I like the idea of the gargoyle traps being kind of a stronger enemy. They're stationary, so you can deal with them pretty easy. Let's see here. That chip damage, though.
Not enough mana.
This feels very Diablo 1 right now. Just enough health to live through every hit. Constantly getting chipped, though.
I need mana.
I think this is one of those secret rooms. No? Thought this was... There it is. Did you know that this existed? It took me years to know that this existed. Little room with a secret door. I think that's awesome. I think the mini-map gives it away a little bit too much, but... You know, as a kid, I sure didn't notice it.
Not enough mana. I need mana.
No, that's not what I'm trying to do. A waypoint. I'm not sure how useful that is, but hey, a waypoint. Just a side comment, like many of my other comments. Bows now actually gain damage from strength, like they did in Diablo 1. So, for example, dexterity in the base game gives bows 100% damage at 100% or at 100 dexterity, so 1% per point. So, since a lot of the bow skills, specifically things like strafe and multi-shot, they're cutting your damage. Excuse me. They cut your damage and stuff like that, and they have a lot of different attacks and stuff, but they don't have any real strong percentage damage. I think that was added in D2R. I think Guided Arrow might have had percentage damage and Strafe did, but I don't think Multi-Shot had percentage damage. So what a lot of players would do is they would stack little small charms of like 3 max damage, attack rating, life, or they do poison damage, charms, or some other stuff in here. Knockback was always helpful in certain circumstances. But dexterity became a very powerful stat for archers because they were lacking in percentage damage bonuses compared to, say, if we go over the javelin stuff, you get like fend and impale, and they immediately have damage bonuses built in. And these damage bonuses are additive to the stat damage bonuses. If you didn't know that, that's how that works. And any damage that is not on your weapon, that's a percentage. If you had like percentage damage on your boots or helmet or something, that is also additive. So that made the dexterity value actually higher. And for right now, I'm just going to keep putting it into dexterity so I can hit better. But the base game was just 1% damage from dexterity. Similar melee weapons had 1% from strength. And Path of Exile does 1% melee damage from strength, for example, as well. Path of Exile does limit to melee damage and not all damage kind of thing. So you can do some different things. I closed a door. That was probably bad.
I need mana.
Need a lot of mana.
Not enough mana.
Don't know if I can pull this off, but we're just going to keep trying to fire. Oh. Nope, can't pull that off. I don't do enough damage. I also don't hit. Oh, their attack rating is, they have an aura. I still think that's the direction I have to go, though. So maybe I can trick them into letting me run by. Ah, there's the orange enchanted guy.
Not enough mana.
When in doubt, close the doors. Because apparently ghosts can't go through doors. That's silly. "20 defense, but 5 loss of spirit." That's a lot of defense, though. And those are the kind of decisions I like. A lot of classes are not going to care about the 5 loss to spirit. That's 10 mana. And if I didn't have this faster hit recovery, that 9 extra defense, I mean, that's a huge amount of defense at this point in the game. It's more defense than either my gloves or my boots, and almost double the defense of my helmet right now. So, must have rolled like 13 base or something. That's pretty good. Anywho, none of these are all that valuable. Honestly, this might actually be better than the mana per kill at the moment. I'm not killing fast enough. If I was killing fast enough, it'd be completely broken, though.
I can't
Longbow.
carry anymore.
Let's see what this longbow is. Oh, I don't have a scroll. Kane, identify my crap. 3 to minimum damage. So 6 to 11. I lose attack speed, though. Go sell this crossbow. I don't care for the crossbow.
Hello.
Just gonna put this on swap. $35 versus 33, 16 versus 15. So yeah, a couple points into exploding arrow will immediately make it better than my fire arrow. It's just that it's so expensive. And that is my doing. It's not normally that expensive. Oh yeah, and fire arrow also converts a massive amount of damage to fire. So it doesn't just give fire damage, it converts the physical damage to fire damage. Also, the mana cost text line needs to be moved up so that it's always the same. It's if it's in the skill description down below, it's showing the comparison between levels, and since it doesn't change, it doesn't need to do that anymore. But I haven't fixed that in the skill description, so just another thing I have to fix. As for Exploding Arrow being 12 mana, again, it probably shouldn't be. maybe it would be better to be something like 8. And gargoyle traps should probably attack faster. Not super crazy fast, but gargoyle traps don't need to be adrenaline junkies, but it might make sense for them to attack a little faster than once every 4 seconds. I have an armor shrine and you're still hitting me. Go away. Thought I have the hit recovery, because if I didn't have the hit recovery, I'd really be dying. I'm fighting champions of hell. Well, I guess they're sided with hell. I don't think they're from hell. Oh, they're demons. I don't know. -3 to all attributes. Well, okay then. There are no broken items, so I'm relying on these negative attributes as broken items. That's how Diablo 1 did it. So they'd have like the rusted greatsword or the broken greatsword, the broken short sword or whatever.
I need mana.
Can't even hit these guys. It is ridiculous. Yeah, I think I overdid it. So next video, I'll try to fix that. Go back to the drawing board on some of those numbers. I just did a multiplier across the board. So a lot of these enemies have something like 75% or 100% more attack rating and more armor, and yeah, you can imagine that that number is probably a little high. It's all experimental. But I like it. It's fun. I really love this game. It's an old game, but part of the reason I love it is simply because of how versatile the game itself and modding the game and everything else is. You can do so much with it. Crystal Sword. If I recall, crystal swords are the most sockets a sword can have at this level of gameplay. I think they can roll 3 where everything else can only roll 2 at this point. Something like that. I want to say that's the reason why they were... See, I walked past this gargoyle trap. It's that slow of an attacker. If I stand over here, will it still attack me here? Can it only attack in a straight line? Apparently, yes. It can only attack in a straight line. I wonder if I can change that. I'd rather it just be a more normal enemy. Like a Hydra kind of thing. The Hydra spell.
I need mana.
I bet this guy can't even hit me. Yeah. I'm not sure how to fix that. That might be an interesting thing to do. I don't know. Interesting. I don't know if it'd be fun, though. Make it so you have to get a book from a bookshelf. You can't just buy a book. You have to find them. Ooh, that guy fell down quick. Mages just have really bad stats. I need to figure out how to fix that. I've only dabbled in that file, the monster stats files, a little bit. One thing I really enjoy about the Diablo series, 1 and 2 especially, is the mixture of damage types and how dangerous they can be. Each damage type has kind of this theme to it. So like lightning, while it wasn't this way in the first game, lightning in the second game has this huge variance. The first game actually had regular damage with pretty huge variance as well. Where even Firebolt was like 1 to 10 damage before various modifiers and levels and stuff. But could quickly be something like 8 to 18 or something for Firebolt. But in... Gosh dang it. Anything in here? But lightning has this like huge variance to it. Let's see here if I show it off here for those of you that are not as familiar. You've got like Lightning Fury and Charge Strike and these things, and it's like 1 to 30 and 1 to 25 and 1 to 40. In this mod, I'm actually going to be removing a lot of the variance there because I think it gets a little excessive near the late game where it's like 1 to 5,000 damage. And since I've added attack rating to all attacks, including magical projectiles and stuff, there's already a chance that it does 0 damage, which is how Diablo 1 worked, sort of. So, like shooting fish in a barrel. Wow, one of these actually hit me. Dare you. Well, it's too bad that you're, like, too dumb to open the door. It might be interesting if these doors were actually locked. You needed a key to open the door. I don't know. Would be silly, but kind of makes sense in a jail. What was I talking about? Lightning damage. I was talking about lightning damage. But the idea is I'd probably, or I've done this actually already with some of those spells in lightning. The sorceress has some abilities that are actually like really variant and other abilities that aren't. Just to put that in perspective. So it's not even consistent across the board. Like I think it's Thunderstorm has a very low variance of damage, but the variance in Thunderstorm is that it attacks randomly. So it's got variance elsewhere. Will I ever escape the jail? Oh my gosh. Go back to whence you've came. So while I'm not doing a spear javelin throwing Amazon at the moment, in the future maybe I would, and in doing so I would change up some of the mechanics there. But I like the damage mechanics in this game. There's a boss in there, mini boss of some sort. You can tell by the way the room glows. But in this game, damage types are really just a way to split the damage across, like a rock, paper, scissors mechanic. And I really appreciate that and enjoy it because it's not just simply you go into a room and everything deals... oops, I don't want to go in there. I'll get trapped. Oh, they can open doors. Fun fact, there is actually a setting in the monster file for whether or not an enemy can open a door.
I can't
Oh,
bear it
nope.
anymore.
I'm gonna walk away. There we go. We got to the next major waypoint. Okay, let's sell some crap and move forward here. So like this armor probably should not sell for 191. It probably should sell for something like 80 or even 25. It has negative attributes on it. But that's apparently not how that works right now. So it's something I need to fix in the future. Probably not going to need the vitality one again or the damage reduced one. I might keep that mana per kill later. I might make it so Akara sells some really low level amulets and rings, but like for really high prices. Just so that you have something else to buy there. Attacker takes damage of 6. It's actually not that bad. 6 damage is a lot at this point in the game. Enhanced defense with durability. Now, if it had rolled ethereal... Hear me out. Can you be ethereal right now? Again. Yeah. I'm not seeing anything of significant value here. I could get some attributes there and a socket. But anyway. We made it to the next waypoint. It's been some time here. I am moving slower than I expected because I'm just not quite getting the damage I need out of some of these things. And enemies are hitting... more often and have more defense than previously experienced. So I need to probably fix that before I continue forward for the next, so to say, episode of this adventure. But to finalize the incoherent thoughts about my elemental rant, in Diablo 2, you commonly have a room that might have, say, bats that do electric damage, zombies that do poison damage, and skeletons that do physical damage. And so you have this high variance lightning damage where maybe they do 1 to 10 or 1 to 15 damage, and you've got poison damage that's bringing you down to 1 health. You can't die to poison damage in Diablo 2. Your mercenary can, enemies can, but players can't. They stay at 1 health until they take some form of direct damage. I think this is because, partially, because it's part of the regen code, but I'm not sure on that. It could be completely an accident. It could be entirely intentional too, though, since it's only players and not enemies. So most likely it's intentional. Anyway, I like that aspect because specifically in Act 2, you do have stuff that is poison and lightning and physical being paired or combined in a room where you are losing all your health, and then it doesn't matter what you get hit by. So it doesn't matter how variant the lightning damage is. It just matters if you get hit by the lightning damage. Or another room might be, fire and lightning. So you're getting hit by a lot of different things. If I were to revamp elemental damage in any way, I'd probably go with an alpha or pre-alpha version of Diablo 3. That looked really cool. That was shown off by Blizzard back in the day. It's not what we got, but I really liked it back in the day. I thought it was really cool where elemental damages actually kind of had effects tied to them that were a little bit stronger than what we see in Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, where I think the character was a barbarian. It had like a lightning axe and an ice axe. And so it would alternate attacks. And if it hit with the lightning axe, it would do some lightning damage and actually stagger the enemy. And if it hit with the ice axe, it would have a chance to completely freeze the enemy in place. Now, freeze does exist in Diablo 2, and I do believe that due to how the variance of lightning damage works, it does technically trigger stagger more often than a lot of other damage, just because it can be really high values. But I wouldn't have them stagger in Diablo 2 is tied as a percentage of health to the damage relationship there. So, but I like the fact that even if you go up against Diablo himself, he's not a character that deals only fire damage. He's got like a cold slap. He's got bone prison, which he will use on your teleport scroll portals to trap you in there. He will do fire attacks in the sense of the firestorm flame on the ground that crawls across the ground. He will do fire nova. He will do lightning breath or lightning hose, which is actually 50% lightning, 50% physical. And in the base game, that physical damage ignored armor because it was a spell. So it would absolutely decimate you. Just things like that. And so you get Diablo, who's using fire, lightning, cold, and physical. You've got Mephisto, who uses everything, I think, under the tree that isn't physical. And then you've got Baal, who has all sorts of summons. He's got mana burn, he's got knockback, and he's got tentacles and teleports and split illusions and all this other stuff. And while Diablo 2 was simple, I still think it was an absolutely iconic and amazingly designed game. And from what I understand, they built it in something like 2 years, 24 months. Just crazy, just intense. So anyway, until next time, hope this gave you some insight into this game, as well as the mod itself and my own mind, as messy as my mind actually is. So we will come back to a slightly modified version of this mod that hopefully will allow us to actually progress a little bit more functionally. We have built exactly how we're supposed to build. We've sacrificed a lot of life and spirit and mana, whatnot, and strength to have the attack rating that we currently have. And we're still not getting hit. And we're also wearing some pretty heavy armor, and it doesn't seem to actually matter. Enemies are still hitting us 70% of the time, etc. So in all cases, that should be closer to be probably 50% and not 70%. Even after buffs. In the base game, it'd probably be closer to 40% or even 35% in the base game. So, but yeah, until next time.